Sergio Oliva versus Chris Bumstead. Wow, what a comparison. A fan request, of course. You guys, my loyal fans, subscribers, I guess you might not necessarily be fans, but viewers anyway, you guys shape my very channel just by your wacky sometimes requests. This one here, it's interesting. 1960s guy, 70s, all the way up to the 80s in Sergio Oliva. Chris Bumstead, a modern day competitor. Now you may notice I have I selected 2020 for Chris Bumstead. Might not be his most shredded to the diced, but let's face it. Compared to a guy from the 60s, 70s, yeah, he's going to be much more shredded no matter what version you use, and I think that 2020 was his fullest, his biggest, maybe not his most peeled, but I think my favorite overall version of Chris Bumstead. Now, this one here of Sergio, I think it's 1980, to be honest with you. 1980. Why does that ring a bell? Ooh, why didn't he jump into the Olympia that year? He would have defeated Arnold. Oh, yeah. I don't think they wanted him around. He was banned or something, or suspended from the IFBB indefinitely, but wow, that's interesting. For the years that these guys have done battle, 1980, Arnold, he was very weak, and Sergio, he still looked pretty darn good. I think Sergio was the better man in 1980, to be honest with you. These guys did battle way back when, 1972, and I don't know why I'm talking about this. It's interesting, though, isn't it? Did you guys ever see when somebody did this, they switched their heads? I did these pictures with somebody else. I gotta give them credit. I can't remember who did it. Somebody did it. It's just funny. It freaks me out a little bit when you switch these two dudes' heads. But anyway, what was I talking about? Oh, yes, the versions of Sergio Oliva, 1972 here. It was a great version, but these pictures here, I think they were taken in some weird hall where I think they purposely made them stand around for a while to not be pumped up when they did the comparisons. I don't know. He just definitely didn't look like he could have. For instance, 1971. He was there. He had his posing trunks on, but for some reason, Joe said, "Well, we're not going to let you compete because you competed at the Universe for NABA." But Frank Zane, he competed for NABA, and he was allowed to compete at the Olympia too. But anyway, I don't want to get into that right now. It just makes me seething. Very seething. But of course, the truth all comes out in the wash, doesn't it? I decided to use this version here of Sergio. He was good in 71, but the camera was tilted a little bit too much down below. I think this one here is pretty much same thing what we see with Chris Bumstead. Almost as level. I think it may be the 1972 Mr. Galaxy? I don't know. Some genius in the audience or my comment section below, let us know. Look at the shape. Look at the shape of Bumstead. He's competing with Sergio Oliva in the V-taper and the wheel size. Look at this. Should we not bow down to this Bumstead? He has the exact same build as Sergio Oliva. Look at that. I mean, sure, little differences here and there, but I'm just saying that they have perfect little X-frames, tiny waistlines, huge big wide clavicles, and massive big quads. Now the difference, of course, is Sergio has maybe the best arms, the biggest forearms, the biggest measurement down the end of the arm or something of that nature. Still bigger than any Olympia champions. That's what they say. I don't know. I don't know what that means, but he definitely has bigger, better arms than Chris Bumstead. So one could say all thin skinyards conditioning. Obviously, that's going to be not fair to compare that. I would say Sergio Oliva is the better man in the front double bicep pose. Now, when it comes to the front lat spread, a lot of times these pictures just are not that good. For instance, this one here, it's kind of off to the side, down below. Doesn't really give Sergio a fair shake. It looks good. Better than some guys nowadays. And then there's ones like this. This is too flattering. What are we even looking at? A designed front lat spread? You couldn't design a more powerful front lat spread. But like I said, that camera angle, everything, and I think the bodybuilders knew exactly where to stand and how to stand when the cameraman was down below. But having said that, I did find this one here. Look at this. Have you guys ever seen this picture of Sergio Oliva? I try to dig up new pictures for you fellers and fellacies. Make it interesting. Make it more entertaining. That's why I try to crack jokes. Things of that nature. This is the Mr. World, where he very first ever lost to Arnold Schwarzenegger. So he was not 100% here. He was definitely in better condition by times, and you can see that. I'll be honest. He's a little bit smooth monsoon. Little bit too smooth compared to Bumstead. But for the time, he was still pretty conditioned. Now, if you're just judging who looks better in the pose, I think Bumstead might even have him. I don't know. Kind of a toss-up. The front double, it was kind of a toss-up except for the arm, so, it was obvious. Hang around with him, hang around with you. But yes, Chris Bumstead, he rocks the front lat spread. So does Sergio. It's incredible when you think about it. I mean, Arnold wasn't that bad at the pose. How many Mr. Olympia champions were great at that front lat spread? Coleman, Yates, Haney. A lot of them, guys. Zane wasn't bad either. So Sergio Oliva joins that group of Mr. Olympia champions. Bumstead, he's an Olympia champion. Canadian, too. A big Canadian buck, I could assume, for some aspiring young bodybuilders that were raised on Mark's Max Muscles channel. They would just love to be someday called a great big, even Canadian or a big American buck. Or anywhere, a British buck. There used to be an Irish elk before the end of Dryas. I think it was around the end of Dryas. That's what killed them all off. Anyway. Turn to the side. Try not to bore you guys to death with, well, that's not very boring. Meteors and elks as big as moose. I can tell you one thing that's as big as a moose is that big man's chest of Sergio Oliva. Was never a huge fan of the way he hit this pose. I don't know. It's not bad. It's just, I don't know. Chris Bumstead, he is striking his to perfection. Look at the arm difference. My soul. Was this the year you guys said that he had slapped on clay in that delt? Oh, I shouldn't say that. Well, I guess I never specified who I was actually talking about. So let's just drop the subject, if you will, and go to another pose. Oh, come on. Give me a break. Break me off a... What was that? Oh, never mind. Yeah, not a very good comparison, guys. Again, we're just gonna continue on. Go to the next pose here. The back shots. Of course, guys, you're not gonna compare glutes, hamstrings, and if Chris Bumstead was around back then, no, he wouldn't have glutes. Ripped out hamstrings. Nobody did yet. They didn't exist. So what are we looking for? Well, who do you think would have the better back? These guys competed at the same time. I'll tell you who would. I know Sergio would. Look at the size of the back. The world had never seen a back like this. And what did he do? He probably did some pull-ups and, deadlifts, things of that nature. Not like the super-duper technologically advanced machines. Could you imagine? Hook this up to modern-day training and supplements. Wow. He would destroy Chris Bumstead. Wouldn't even be close. All right. There's this here comparison. And I don't know if it favors Sergio or not. It's a little bit later on in his career. So it is definitely hard to say for sure. That other picture I think was from 70 or 69. He was good in both. Of course, he looks good here. And you have to assume he looked way better in his prime. Just the camera footage was not as good. This one, not a bad picture. Still, a much better, genetically speaking, back, arms, traps, lats. I can keep going, things of that nature than Chris Bumstead. So I think hands down, it's obvious. Sergio Oliva had the better back. Here is the rear lat spread. This is a photo shoot for Sergio. And again, I think this is from the 80s. This is probably from the mid-80s. So his back was much better than this. Bumstead? His rear lat spread's pretty good. It's a smaller base, but it's nice, thick, clean, neat lat insertions, and I can hear you guys now. But Max, more so. You missized it, I think. Bumstead, he's not going to stand as tall as Arnold did, guys. He might be as tall as Arnold, but he's bending at the knees. The more modern way to hit the poses. But anyway, so give up on you police, you size police. Or no, I shouldn't. No, you guys go ahead. You comment your dislike for my sizing in this one in the comments below. Here's the abs and thigh. Whoa! Sized even worse. You know what's happening here? Sergio, like I was saying, those old school guys, they know exactly where to stand. He's bending his knees, so if the cameraman was in front of him, it would just look like his legs were bigger, and his waistline would be smaller. Whereas he really didn't need to do that. But having said that, both of these guys, washboard abs on Sergio, nice flat tummy. And oh, this reminds me, I had to address you fellers in the comment section below in that Dennis Wolf, Chris Bumstead comparison that I did. You guys were so upset. And hey, I love yous for it. You guys continue to comment. Like I said, you're disliked for my opinions. I said Chris Bumstead, his midsection was kind of an insy. It goes in like it's sunk in. How do you not see that? And with all due respect, and I'm not talking about the width of the waistline of Dennis Wolf, but look at the belly. He's got a little bit of, it's not fat, but it's just bulging out. How do you not see that? But if you still don't see it, then I don't know what to tell you. But it has nothing to do with my needing of glasses. I can see fine. It's just my perception's off. It could be. Or yours. It could be yours. I don't want to question anybody, but I definitely, if you see an insy and an outsy for Wolf and an insy for Chris Bumstead, you give me a heck yeah in the comments below. Anyway, we've wasted enough time. Of course, that's not a waste of time. I'm addressing you guys. You guys let me know something. I gotta address you guys back now. Right into the most muscular. And again, I believe I have never shown this picture on Mark's Max Muscles channel before. Maybe a long, long time ago. When I just don't remember. But I don't think so. I don't think I've ever shown. Jeez Louise, I hope you fellers doing cardio don't go to sleep off my harmonious tones. Course, that would actually work in my favor. Anyway, Chris Bumstead ripped to shreds. I get a little tired myself here. Now in the crab position, most muscular. And most certainly, we wake up during this shot. Look at the pecs of Chris Bumstead. Look at the pecs of Sergio Oliva. With all due respect to this man beast, I guess both of these guys could be considered beasts, was never a huge fan of the way he was striking this pose. That arms behind back one that he was doing there, it would look pretty flattering. But this one here, I was never a huge fan. Bumstead hits it to a T. Looks solid like rock as well. And that's it. That is the Sergio Oliva versus Chris Bumstead comparison. I did what I could, guys. You're not going to be able to get a good, honest assessment of this. I mean, Bob Ciccarello himself would admit that. It's not really fair to compare. Good old Bob. Shout out to Bob. He was a good man. Or he still is. He's still a good man. He's a great man. Deserves an award. The Bob Chick Award. I'd like to see Bob Ciccarello get the Arnold Award that they hand out every year at the Arnold Lifetime Achievement Award. Bob Ciccarello. Huh? I'll vote for it. But anyway, hit thumbs up on the video. Let me know. Does Sergio beat Chris Bumstead here? I think he's destroying him. Obviously, if you took these two physiques, these two baddies, McMahon, and you threw them up on the bodybuilding stage, there's too much water on Sergio. But considering, I told you, doesn't take a genius to figure that out. If Bumstead was around back then, he wouldn't be ripped. If Sergio was around now, he would be ripped. Sergio, much more of a bodybuilder. Best of all time. Bumstead deserves respect too. He gets a trophy to boot, eh? Up here in Canada, big hero up here, eh? Oh yeah, just giving her with the muscles flexing. Have a nice one.